up, my dog?
What's going on?
It's been a wild, crazy week. Last week of college football for sure. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Another release of the college football playoff rankings revealed last night. We got a couple weeks to go, a couple games. That's going to basically settle this thing out. And I'm in for a chaotic, wild ride. I think is what it's more and more so looking like.
Yeah, I hope so. Everybody's getting up in arms about rankings and seedings and college football playoff rankings different than the AP and all of that. It is like, I think this first go around, everyone's just trying to figure it out. But at the end of the day, everybody still got to play on the field. You still got games you got to play. It doesn't matter what the rankings say and whatnot. That's for for us podcasters and just cooler talk at work and whatnot. But at the end of the day, your team has to still have to go out on the field and make plays. And this week, I said last week that there was going to be some elimination games starting. But I think definitely this week, the next 3 weeks are pretty much the playoffs have started.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the big thing is just the rankings don't mean anything. You got to go play ball.
You got to play ball.
You got games that are going to settle this out. So it's fun to talk about and throw the hypotheticals out and what ifs and all that stuff. And that's basically what you do because you got to talk about something until you get to those games. So
yeah,
there's definitely some important ones this week. And like I say, we'll hop right in because, like I say, last week for Florida and Florida State, those were two woodshed games, and then we had the massive. Your boys catch the fucking L of the year, man! Right off the bat, they get the L from Georgia Tech.
I don't know. It's funny, like how everyone's surprised. Have I not been saying it all year that they always trip up on one ACC game, and all year you've been telling me, they're gonna win, but they always trip up.
They've been playing with fire really the last
100%.
4 or 5 weeks.
And then you played against I won't say a good Georgia Tech team, but a very disciplined. When they play their scheme of football, they're decent. They're a good team. Offensively, what they wanted to do was suck the life out of the clock, run the football, not do anything crazy, play good defense. I think Georgia Tech won the football game. I'm not going to take anything from them. But if you watch that Miami team, you saw so many mistakes, and I think they gave the game away to them. Like I said, I'm not trying to take any credit from Georgia Tech because you can't go 1 for 4 on fourth down. You lead the nation on third down. You can't convert on third down. For some reason, our defense can't get lined up to where, hey, guys, the receivers are to the left. They have a tight end and a running back to the right, and yet the defensive end is sliding on the inside eye of the tight end, giving the edge away. And it was the whole game, and I'm sitting there the whole game like, why are we giving the edge away? And then when Haynes King's in the game, we know he's not throwing the football. You knew he wasn't throwing. He threw the ball like 5 times for the whole game. And then you're sitting there and you're just like, what are we doing on defense? Is it the scheme? Is it the coach? Is it the players? Like, what part at this point of the season where we're just sitting there watching them play, like, are they just dumb? Or is it the defensive coordinators just getting out coached? I think they got out coached on Saturday. Yeah. Offensively, I've been saying it all year. There was going to be a game where the offense would kind of it didn't sputter, but it sputtered enough to where we didn't score enough points. And on the offensive side, offensive coaching wise, I feel like there are games where Dawson does this. Hey, we got to run the football. And then it just slows down the whole tempo. And it's like Cam's kind of out of it. This is just my perspective. It feels like Cam's out of it. And he just turns and hands the ball off. They run the ball. Everyone takes their time getting to the huddle. And then we'll do that for 2 drives. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the running game isn't going like we need it to go. So let's go back to the tempo. We could do both. We could do tempo with pass and run. And it's just frustrating to watch every week because we have those 2 or 3 drives where run. Oh, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, instead of mixing it up. And then everybody said the ACC officials are on Miami's side. If you go back and watch the game, you miss a blown holding call on a deep ball to Isaiah Horton. And then the so-called targeting on Ahmad Moten. Like, that's just football. Now, granted, Bain did grab the face mask, so it was still a 15-yard penalty. But to kick that kid out for making a football play, like, let's put flags on him and just call it a day.
Yeah, all that stuff I agree, but going back to what I think the biggest issue was, Buster Faulkner out schemed Lance Guidry,
100%.
and there was
100%.
he like you said it. I don't know if it's a numbers game, and you could
Yeah.
clearly see you're outflanked, you're outmanned, you're
Mhm.
outnumbered every single time they're motioning to, you got more guys than they got over there, and then on top of what your edge was doing was like it was wild. Like the edge, literally, your defensive end was like two guys down
Not
on
even
top of
that, but then
on
on
top of
top of
them
that,
bringing a motion man. Like it
yeah,
was like, what do you do? Well, even then, even the flip side, they bring
they
in Philo just to throw, and he's completing third down passes. You're
well,
like, well,
the two big third down passes, I'm like, just man up and rush. And then you guys, Mish Powell getting lost on the field on the 3rd and 15, and he's just like trying to cover another guy. And mid play, he realizes, oh, I got the slot guy. By the time he realizes it, he's doing a pirouette in the middle of the field, and the guy catches the ball and then slides. And then the next key third down, you have the safeties, Zaquan. This time, Zaquan's in the field. He's confused on who he's supposed to cover. And I'm just like, 3rd and 15, we know they're throwing the football. Just man up and play defense. And it's like sometimes Guidry gets a little too cute with the scheme, and it's like, all right, clearly not everybody's on the same page with the scheme. If everyone's on the same page with the scheme and what their job is, you could do those exotic things, or you could do those zone drops and whatnot. But to me, in that situation, you should have just manned up and played and played it played the 3rd and 15. They probably, even if he would have ran, even if Follow would have ran, I think we're fast enough to get him down.
yeah, he probably wouldn't have picked up the 15-yard
Yeah, yeah. It was
if
just
you would have had to
bad.
rush out.
It's just one
Yeah,
of those games. And then in the first half, uh, sometimes Cam's biggest flaw is his greatest asset at the same time, where he is a gunslinger and he wants his guys. And the first 3 drives, if they would have just kept going to Elijah Arroyo, the first 3 drives, they would have 3 straight touchdowns.
that first touchdown was like on a rope, and it was almost like he wasn't even looking, and then next thing you know, the ball's right in his
Yeah.
number 8, hit him right in the
And
chest.
and then the next possession, he missed him. He was wide open. He threw it to Sam Brown on Sam was running like a corner. If you go back and watch it, Arroyo's he could walk back into the end zone, walk through the end zone. And it was like that the whole game, where the tight ends were open. And like I say, sometimes he's a gunslinger and he wants those big plays, and he has the checkdowns and he has the shorter routes. And it were another 4th down where if he'd have just threw it to Restrepo, who was 6 yards in front of him, they pick up the first down. And like I say, sometimes, like I say, his strength, it could be his weakness at times.
Yeah, I mean, he played about as well as you could play. Obviously,
For sure.
if he here's the wild part about it is what he's done, basically bailed out everything in those last 4 or 5 games, and in all likelihood, he was probably about to do it again. It was set up in a situation where
Jacoby
you're
was
like,
wide open.
well, I'm not even talking about that play that he fumbled on, but I'm just saying in general, he was basically set. It was set up to where all this happened, and you basically had the ball last, kind of like a Mahomes type deal. You got give him the ball last. He's going to go make some plays down here, go down, and we're going to win this game in the last seconds and just get out of there. And again, the problem with playing like that is, like I say, you're on razor edge.
Yeah, eventually,
it's gonna the dam is like literally like okay, it's you go all the way back to that Virginia Tech game with all the turnovers. You go back to the Cal game where you're down huge and you have to come back to win. So you got down. It was a little tighter against Duke until you blew them out in the second half. But it's just you keep playing around with that razor's edge, and you're gonna get cut.
I just think they're better than how they've been playing the last couple weeks, and I think they just get comfortable knowing that they have that guy, instead of playing, like, especially on the defense, instead of playing with their hair on fire and just saying, we don't need the offense to make plays. We're going to win this game. And do we have the players to do that? I think we do, but the secondary's banged up. And the other thing that was driving me nuts, going back to setting the edge, I'm watching Tyler Barron every play shoot to the inside, shoot to the inside. It's like, dude, you realize there's no one outside of you. There's literally no one outside of you other than 175-pound maybe safety as soon as the linemen get upfield, there's nothing Mish Powell, Zaquan, or Jaden Harris could do once those linemen get upfield. And it's like, dude, set the edge, play your edge. And if they would do that the whole game, I think they would be fine. If they would just do normal rush up the field. But, everyone's like going all crazy about Miami losing. It's like, I've been saying it all year. When's the other shoe going to drop? Even before the VTech game, the Cal game, I'm looking at the schedule like they're going to lose one to one of the teams they should not lose to.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Part of me why I just couldn't believe it was because you didn't have to play one of the top teams in the ACC yet.
Nope.
You haven't played Florida State's down, obviously. You're not playing Clemson this year, and they're not even the top. SMU is who you'd play if you can make it to the ACC title game.
Yeah.
You didn't have to play a Pitt team that's, up at the top. So it's like looking at the schedule, just like ACC is in a down year. They're beating up on all the ACC teams they're playing. Florida was not very good. And then, the out of conference was whatever. So you're like, okay, let's see what this team's got. That's why you're like I say, your margin for error is now a 0. You got your mulligan out of the way.
I mean, it doesn't. Like we said at the beginning, it doesn't matter. Miami wins out. They're in the ACC championship game.
Exactly.
They hold the tiebreaker against Clemson. I'm hearing all these people like clearly no one looks at what the tiebreakers are. Miami has a tiebreaker over Clemson. They beat Wake Forest and Syracuse. They're in. The margin for error is if they would have went undefeated, just say played against SMU in the ACC championship game and they lose, I still think they're getting into the 12-team playoff. Now, even if they lose the SMU hypothetically in the ACC championship game, if they get there, I think they're out because they're gonna favor a 10-2 SEC team, which to me they shouldn't, but that's just my opinion. But they're already setting it up to where they're gonna have 4 SEC teams in there.
Yeah. Maybe 5 now. That's what I'm hearing. You look at it, it's crazy.
And that's ridiculous. To me, that's just ridiculous. I know we'll get to that, but I just feel like, why are we even playing football? If you're going to put every SEC team in there, how about this? SEC, Big Ten, go start your own thing and everybody else do their own thing.
Let's do it, baby. NFL style, AFC, NFC.
Nobody's going to watch. Eventually, people are going to get tired of it.
Yeah. Well,
and all of ESPN's rankings are going to tank because people are going to be anti-watching that other than people from the SEC and Big Ten.
Well, like I say, they rule the roost. So I mean, who knows what's going to happen? But that's they rule
the roost until we start talking about Indiana and Missouri.
Yeah. Well, like I say, that
you can't have it. You can't have it both ways.
Well, there is a difference in parallels of like good teams in the league.
We'll get to that in a little bit. You can't have it both ways. You can't say
Sparrow says there's SEC bias in the country. It's either you hate the SEC or you dislike it. Which one is it though? You just either you don't you don't think those teams are good enough?
No, what I'm saying is, Sponge, you're saying that the SEC is the best conference, but we're sitting there saying at the same time, if Missouri wins out and goes 10-2, you're going to sit here and say Missouri's not going to be in the playoff, and they shouldn't be in because their strength of schedule is not better than A&M, Ole Miss, Georgia, even though they play in the same conference.
Yeah, there's different levels to that. They do play in the same conference, but they didn't play the same teams. Like so, just
who makes the SEC schedule?
It gets made.
Answer the question. Who makes the SEC schedule?
Obviously, the SEC makes the SEC schedule.
So it was Missouri's fault that the SEC made their schedule to where they didn't rotate all these teams on their schedule.
Yeah, they got unlucky. It's called being unlucky.
No, you can't. You can't. You see, that's what I'm saying. You can't have it both ways.
What do you mean? What am I supposed to do? I can't sit here and say I can't make the schedule this way. You can't make the schedule that way.
You can't sit here and say Missouri and Indiana shouldn't be in because they didn't play the tougher end of their conference schedule when they don't. It's not the NFL. They don't make their schedules.
I get
or
that.
At least the NFL. You play. There's only 32 teams.
But how do you get to the metric? Like I say, we're getting off topic already. We're getting off topic. How do you get to the metric of if everybody's 10-2 in the league? But Missouri didn't beat anybody.
But don't sit here and say the SEC is the best conference when you have a conference team with 2 losses in it. And then when you're talking about it, you want to say, oh, they're not good.
South Carolina and Vandy are better than Missouri.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but you can't sit here and flip it. You guys, like the SEC people, want to flip it for different things.
I'm not flipping anything. I'm just like it's called a ranking system. So if Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, LSU, Texas A&M, and whoever, and Missouri are all 10-2. You have to rank them, right? You have to rank them who's best out of those 10-2 teams. Missouri is at the bottom. Why? Because they didn't beat any of the other good teams in the SEC. I can't help it that they didn't play Alabama or
they did play
Texas.
Alabama. They did play Alabama.
Well, like I said, I'm just saying they didn't win.
So, right, they didn't.
But all those other teams have good quality. All those other teams have quality wins.
This is exactly what's going to happen. If Georgia loses this week, the argument is going to be 11-3 or 9-3. Georgia is still better than X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, pretty much.
So why play football? If we're just going to throw teams in there prematurely,
let's just get down to the end here. We'll get down to the end, and then we can talk about a 9-3 Georgia versus whoever we talk about. We'll get to in 3-4 weeks. We'll get to that.
But here's the thing about the 9-3 Georgia. Has Georgia looked like a top 10 team this year? And don't tell me the half against Alabama.
Yes, you can't. Because what you base it on is
has Georgia looked like a top 10 team?
Yes, they have. They beat the hell out of Texas, who was number 2 in the country.
Okay, the one game. The rest of the year, what if they look like? Well,
name another team who's got name another team who has a big win like that we're even going to compare
the rest
to.
Of the year. So
BYU,
Colorado, going against
Indiana.
I mean, BYU does have a big win. They beat a top 15 team in SMU.
Yeah.
Is SMU not in the top 15?
They are. They're ranked number 14 in the country right now in the polls.
So now that's not a big win.
It's not beating Texas.
That's what I'm talking about. You guys keep
number
pushing
2
the goalpost
versus number 14. That is not pushing the goalpost. That is nowhere near. That is a mid-grade
Sponge. We're talking about potentially 9-3 Georgia versus a one-loss SMU undefeated BYU team.
BYU will get in. I'm not arguing about that. They're going to win the Big 12.
I'm just saying. You're sitting there telling me that Georgia's better than BYU.
Yes, I am. Here's what I'll tell you, because let's just say this hypothetical: Colorado and BYU play. BYU's undefeated. Colorado goes all the way to the Big 12. Colorado knocks BYU out. BYU, see ya. You're done. You ain't better than Georgia at 9-3, being 11-1. You're not.
Why even play? Just make it the SEC Invitational and call it a day. Make it an SEC Invitational and call it a day. Why even play football?
Because they're the best freaking teams, and you know it.
No, they're not. They're not a top 10 team. I've been saying that all year. Georgia has not looked good the whole season. Georgia has not, outside of the Texas game. They got to beat
Tennessee this week. So.
Outside of the Tennessee game and the one half they played against Alabama, you're going to sit here and tell me Georgia's looked like a top 10 team.
They've been off all year, but yes, they've played like a top 10 team. They can beat anybody.
Win.
They can beat anybody. They can beat anybody they want.
So can the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, sure.
The Carolina Panthers could beat anybody in the NFL if that's the logic you're going with.
Not any given Sunday. Like, yes, Georgia, with all its flaws, is way better than a BYU. And like, we can argue that until the cows come home.
Why play football then, Sponge? Why are we playing football? Why are we playing football if you're going to predetermine who's going to be in the top 12 regardless of who you played? Why? Are they not in the Power 4 conference?
You're literally telling me BYU is better than Georgia.
I'm not sitting there saying we don't know that. On a neutral field, they could be.
All else is whatever. BYU is better than Georgia, is what you're saying.
I did not say that. That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Then why are we playing football then? Because Georgia's better. I want to see Georgia play Miami. I don't want to see BYU and Miami.
That's all what it is. That's what you want to see. You want to see the 9-3 team because it's Georgia. Because it's Georgia. That's why you want to see it, because it's Georgia.
They're better. They're better than BYU.
You're programmed to think that Georgia will always be better than BYU. BYU could go undefeated for the next 5 years, and you're still going to sit here and say Georgia's better.
Well, let's see if BYU can do that for the next 5 years.
There's no way you can sit here and tell me that this Georgia team this year looks like a top 10 team comparative to the last 3-4 years, and even in their conference.
They're not the same team. I'll give you that. They're not. But guess what? They still have a championship level defense, and when Carson Beck plays like Carson Beck, they can beat anybody.
When does Carson Beck play like Carson Beck?
Against Texas, the number 2 team in the country.
No, he did not. Carson did not look like. No, he did not. What game were you watching?
He still had 3 touchdown passes.
How many picks did he have?
He threw 5 picks in like every damn game. So
yeah, he has 15 picks and like 3 touchdowns in the last 4 games. I'm telling me that they're a top 10 team. They're not a top 10 team. They're out. They're not a top 10 team.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
You can call me whatever. You can call me whatever.
Laura's off the Kirby
No.
Georgia bandwagon, buddy.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Guess what? You know
I think
what?
Kirby is one of the greatest coaches of all
After
time.
losing to Ole Miss, they're fringe top 10. So like 12 right now is what they're ranked. So they're 13.
They're outside looking in. If they win, and I've been saying this, I've been consistent with it. Have I not been consistent with the Georgia argument all year? You're making it seem like I'm just saying it today.
No,
when you sit down and watch Georgia,
we've been through the whole
Georgia has not looked like a top 10 team. There's no way anyone could argue that. Against Texas, their defense won them the game, which is not a bad thing. But don't sit here and tell me that Carson has looked great this season.
Yeah,
he has not looked great this season. If you go look at the numbers, they lead the nation in drops. They've turned the ball over almost 20 times in the last 4 or 5 games.
Turnover machine right now.
Stop telling me that they're a top 10 team. That's not how a top 10 team plays.
I don't disagree, but guess what? They'd be favored to beat all those teams. You know,
it doesn't matter who's favored. You still got to go out on the field and play the football game.
Guess what? They get a shot to play Tennessee this week, maybe with no Nico. So we'll get back on the soapbox. We'll talk about Texas fucking routing the Gators. It wasn't even a game.
Yeah, let's talk about Texas routing the Gators and running one up on them.
Exactly. Fucking the Gators stink. Got a third string quarterback at Yale. What did you expect? Gators get blown out. Same old same. Sark with the misdirection, double, triple reverse. Ridiculous. Yeah, there's nothing really to say here. Florida stinks. We're keeping Billy Napier, so it's a poverty program. I've hit the portal. I could care less about the season. I've moved on. I don't care about this week.
It's no hitting the portal, buddy. You can wear that damn hat.
I've hit it right here. I've hit it all day.
You're a Florida fan. I don't give a damn what you wear. You're a Florida fan. And everyone that knows you knows you're a Florida fan.
That's fine.
No, take them L's just like everybody else is taking their L's over the years.
I am taking them L's, but
then where's your Florida hat?
I'm done.
Where's your Florida hat?
I'm done.
Take your L's.
Until Billy Napier is not the coach anymore, I will no longer be watching or representing the University of Florida.
Take your L's. Take your L's. And by the way, when you guys lose the rest of these, if you guys lose the rest of these games, make sure you have on your Florida State shirt and your Florida State hat. If y'all lose to Florida State,
I will, because that'll hopefully be the firing of Billy Napier.
On the podcast, not like walking around the house where it's just you hating.
I will 100%. If we lose to LSU and Ole Miss, to hopefully lose to Florida State, who's 1-9. To get Billy Napier out of Gainesville, I will definitely wear a Florida State hat. I will definitely wear a Florida
shirt.
State.
Initially, it was a shirt.
So somebody's got to buy. No, I'm only going to rock a hat. I mean, somebody's got to buy it for me. I ain't buying it.
You can't go to the dollar store and buy it. I'll go to the dollar store and buy you a Florida State shirt. I think I could muster up one.
There you go. Yeah, like I say, we are a non-serious program. We don't care about winning. Scott Strickland's the biggest shitbag in the country. You know, to keep telling us this bill of lies and whatever. We're terrible. We're awful. Like same record, same song, same dance. You know, if DJ Lagway plays in this game, we still don't beat Texas. If DJ Lagway plays this week against LSU, do we have a shot? How much does LSU care now that they might be out of the playoffs? Like I say, it's not even a talking point. Like, it's like beyond, like, defensively, we can't stop anybody. Offensively, with a third string quarterback from Yale, like, I don't expect anything. You know, it was like wild that they were able to even stay in the game last week here in Jacksonville, and it's just like it's beyond me that Strickland made. Yeah, how are they only a 5.5 point favorite? I have no clue. Like that, like yeah. I know they're talking about DJ's supposed to play, but like what kind of
don't matter.
What is he going to do? Like, he's not going to have any burst. He can't run, you know, so he's going to be a sitting duck. I mean, like I say, LSU, I felt LSU's been kind of overrated all year anyways, but that's just me, but whatever. But, you know, so I don't know if they're basing it because LSU's got nothing left in the tank. They feel like they're done, even though I just, like I said, I sent you the thing that you've already had, the college football playoff tiebreaker metric. And literally the wild part is literally in the next 3 weeks, if the favored team wins, LSU will be in the SEC title game. So they got everything to play for, you know, but I don't know if Brian Kelly's broken that down to them or not. Or
I think the problem was that guy at quarterback he just looked like a different person than he's looked all year. That wasn't the Jalen Milroe we've seen like the last 3, 4, or 5 weeks. He just Superman was in the building, as Kenny Smith would say. Like, how he shot out of a cannon. He just looked like it's weird. He just looked like a different player.
Yeah, I think he's been hurt. But like I say, Texas. Texas, here's the crazy part too, and this is the argument that we could talk about scheduling wise. What's Texas's best win?
No, I agree. But that's the point I'm making. But
Like
we can
Texas
sit here
got
and
the
say
easy.
who's the
Texas
best
got the
win
easy. Texas got the easy side of the SEC
in
schedule for the
a
opening
sense.
year.
But
Yeah,
don't
they only had to play Georgia.
But I'm just saying, don't sit here and shove down my throat that the SEC is the best conference, and then you look at the top teams outside of Georgia. They didn't. Once again, they don't do their conference schedule. So you got to put it on the conference to say, hey, after just say going forward, which most conference schedules are probably made for 10 years, we need to change some of these matchups up just in case.
Well,
but then again,
everything got screwed when you just added
I
two more
know.
teams. So that's where
Sponge,
it got out of discombobulated. You're like,
I'm not
it's all kind
disagreeing
of
with that.
misaligned.
But all I'm saying is you can't sit here and say this is the best conference until we start talking about Missouri. We can't say the Big Ten is the second best conference until we talk about Indiana.
We can talk about Missouri, but all right, here, give me so the SEC. What's the best conference in the country this year? Is it the SEC or the Big Ten?
I mean, it's probably a coin toss.
I see where I would disagree with you at is I would say the Big Ten is like it's always very top heavy with those top four. But this year, we've even said it. Vanderbilt, who was like your 8th team, can go be like one of the top. They could be number 5 in the Big Ten, or they could. South Carolina, they say would win the ACC this year if they were in it. You know, again, and those are like those teams are like the teams that have sucked, and so the depth of the league.
You say that out loud, right? Whereas I can make an argument for the ACC. The ACC has beat up on the Big Ten. Go look it up.
Who they beat?
I don't know.
Ohio, I just beat Oregon, Ohio State.
They have
Penn State. Or those teams?
See, there you go again.
What I'm talking about, I'm saying the depth.
You got to stop picking it. You do pick and choose.
I'm talking about depth of the league. The depth.
If I sat here and said to you that the ACC versus the Big Ten has a better record, your next statement is, did they play Ohio State and Oregon? I get it. They didn't play the top 2. But don't sit here and talk about the depth when the numbers are there showing that teams in the ACC beat the Big Ten.
Who won? I don't even know which games these were. Like Minnesota and North Carolina played week 1. I don't even know who won that game. I think Minnesota won. Yeah, there you go. Big, huge win for the Tar Heels, baby.
It's a conference versus conference.
Yeah, it is.
And I think the ACC versus the SEC is pretty even. Teams. I think the ACC versus the SEC is even. The SEC may have one win over the ACC currently.
Well, like I say, Miami beat the shit out of Florida week 1, so there's that. Like I say, Clemson is going to get their shot against South
Georgia. Exactly. Well, just like I could say, you.
What I'm saying is the depth.
Hold on, you poo-pooed Clemson. What if somehow Clemson goes 10-2?
They're still not getting in.
With a better non-conference than any team the SEC has played.
They didn't beat Georgia. And so if Georgia's 10-2, again, going back to that, then Georgia's in over Clemson.
All right, well, I'm just saying, if it comes down to 10-2 teams, if Georgia loses this week.
Yeah, if Georgia loses.
If Georgia loses, you're saying that Clemson doesn't have a right to be better than any of the 10-2 SEC teams, even though they played 2 SEC teams?
Well, I would like to say let's look at the metrics. Are they better than a Texas A&M or Ole Miss? No, they're not better than those 2. Tennessee, they're not better than Tennessee either. So there's 3 that they're not better than.
Well, weren't you just touting South Carolina in the group chat the other day?
Yeah, I am.
So if Clemson beats South Carolina, their rival, that's not a good win?
Hell yeah, that's a good win, especially this year for South Carolina because South Carolina is playing really good football. But they're like the 8th best team in the league is what I'm trying to say. That's my point. Like the SEC is not just top heavy, it's depth wise. Like it's like to where, we always talk about the banger of like, man, do you really want to go play Vandy this week after hell? Do you want to go play Arkansas? Like Texas, good luck with Arkansas this week. Let's go smash Arkansas. You should.
Yeah, Arkansas really played a hell of a schedule.
Yeah, they haven't. And they're like I say, but again, we talked about Arkansas last year. Like one of those teams, like they're getting their ass kicked by all the good teams in the SEC. So their record sucks. And so how good is this team? Like they're a middling of the pack. Like Arkansas would beat like half the teams in the ACC. They would beat Syracuse and Wake Forest and Duke.
You don't know that until you get on the field. You don't know that until you get on the field.
You're right.
It's easy to sit here and say,
I wouldn't say Arkansas.
This team.
I wouldn't take
until you
Arkansas.
get on the field.
I would take the Tennessees,
Of course
the Ole
you would. It
Misses.
does, Sponge. You would take 99.9% of the SEC.
I would hope
teams.
you would too. I would hope you would
take that. You would take that every time. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I'm not even going to use Georgia anymore because you don't like Georgia. So
you could take
Tennessee,
the number
Ole
one.
Miss,
You would take
Alabama,
Texas and beat
Texas A&M.
2001 the LSU team or last year's Ohio State team. You would say they would beat every team in the SEC would beat Ohio State last year. It doesn't matter what I say because every time we talk about it, you're going to pick the SEC team.
It's because they're the best.
All my thing is why are we playing?
That's not even true. That's not even true because guess what? I still think Ohio State and Oregon are definitely major outs. Those are going to be like those are the two Those are the two best teams in the country, in my opinion. Oregon and Ohio State. I'm not bought into Penn State.
Who's Ohio State played outside of Oregon?
They haven't. That's what I'm saying. They haven't beaten anybody either.
Even Oregon. I mean, I could just say they probably should have lost to Boise State. Yeah. And they won by 1 against Ohio State.
Yeah. No, for sure. Like I said,
but that's what I'm saying. But guess what? They went on the field and they played the games. We can't keep sitting here saying, "Oh, this team's better than this team because of this metric." Play the football games, and then if there's three or four SEC teams with 3-4 losses, we're still going to put them over undefeated BYU.
No, but you can't say that because BYU would go in because they're winning the Big 12. So that you can't stop saying that one. Say if they lose to Colorado, that's what you got to say. Then they're a 1-loss team. That's what you have to say. You can't. They're not getting in over undefeated BYU. They're in because they win the Big 12. So like the only way that BYU is in an argument with these 3-loss teams is if they lose to Colorado or whoever in the Big 12 championship and have 1 loss. So then it'd be a 11-1 team arguing about who's better than who. And like I say, we'll get like it's all going to play out. Then we can have that argument. And so my again, going back to my question is, are you telling me that BYU is better than Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia? Are they better than all 4 of those teams? You take BYU over all 4 of those.
If they play on the field, they're probably not better. But at the end of the day, you got to go out on the field and prove it.
I get that, but if you got to prove it to say that BYU deserves to go play Ohio State in the 4-5 or the 5-12 game.
So. Have you watched football this year?
I think I have.
So every week, there hasn't been any upsets that surprise you?
Sure, there's been some upsets.
So now, with that being said, we're going to act like that couldn't happen. We're going to act like BYU. I say, honestly, those teams would be favored to beat BYU. Yes, by the bookies, they would have them favored. But to go out on the field, if BYU went out there and beat Ole Miss, that wouldn't surprise you?
No, it wouldn't. Like I said, that would not surprise me.
That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is let's not act like all I'm saying is let's not act like it was 10 years ago where the top 10 were the top 10 and they could beat the top 10 was the top 10. With the transfer portal and everything else, everyone has a legitimate shot of making a run. Now, we'll find out about Indiana in a week, how good Indiana truly is in a week.
Oh, for sure.
What I'm saying is let's stop acting like these are the sisters of the poor, like how it used to be, and say these teams don't have a chance. That's all I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, if we're doing that, why have a playoff where there's only going to be 2 conferences truly in the playoff?
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's just
because I think the Big 12 is probably the third best. Probably third or fourth best conference this year, but let's not act like they haven't been a decent conference. Like it's the MAC. It's not the MAC.
No, it's not.
The Big 12 has been pretty solid this year.
It's been pretty good. Like I say, what happened was their dog leader, Cam Rising. Everybody's like Utah. They lose their quarterback, so then they kind of fade off. Their defense is finally getting right, so that's an interesting spot this week for Colorado. Like I say, Colorado's come on strong.
That's all I'm saying. Like last year,
Oklahoma State's falling off. Oklahoma State's falling off.
The Pac-12 was the best conference last year. By far, the Pac-12.
From top to bottom, they were the thickest league. They had
so they weren't top heavy. Can't be another conference in the mix. I'm like you say.
I'm not saying that. We know, like I say again, all this is like I say based on TV.
It's all hypothetical
ratings. And it is. What I'm saying is
sure.
The ESPN owns the college football playoff. They're in bed with the SEC. It's again, but the SEC has literally turned out like metric wise, number wise, some of the best teams and programs over the last
all my
25
argument,
years.
Hold on. All my argument is this. Like last year, when we argued about when the argument was Georgia, Florida State, and Texas. Georgia truly was probably the best team in the country last year that lost to Alabama on a field goal. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought they were one of the best teams in the country. Florida State was one of the best teams in the country until Jordan Travis got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
There's no arguing that. All I'm saying is my eyes tell me that Georgia's not a top 10 team this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Hold on. Let me finish. They're a good team, and they're borderline good, great, and they got some things to figure out. All I'm saying is week to week, when I watch Georgia play, I'm like, they're still a good team, but they could get caught by anyone.
No, for sure. I don't disagree with that at all.
And then on a neutral site, they could get caught by anyone. Yes, we know that their defense is probably going to show up and be top notch, but with that, how that guy's playing at quarterback and all those drops they're having,
that's a problem.
And that's all I've been saying. All I'm saying is, don't tell me that their hands and fists above everybody else in the country.
No, and they're not, because guess what? It's completely changed because now Ole Miss is way better than Georgia. You know, like Tennessee's got a shot.
I think this week they are, because Georgia probably could have beat Ole Miss a couple weeks ago when Ole Miss hit their little whatever they were going through.
Here's what's wild about Ole Miss, and this is what's crazy is, you know, I was listening to McElroy and even Kirby. They both were talking about Ole Miss probably has the best roster in the country, maybe. You know,
there's no arguing
outside of Georgia, and maybe at Texas.
And
so
Ohio
it's like,
State.
Yeah, and so
they shouldn't have lost to Kentucky.
Yeah, they lost by a field goal to Kentucky after they sleptwalked through that game.
Yeah,
and then they literally led the entire game against LSU and lost on the last second touchdown.
But
they led the entire game and lost by 3 in that game. So it's like they have 2 losses, but it's like they've looked good in spurts, and then they've just absolutely murdered people too. So it's like, what is the Jekyll and Hyde of this team?
But it's every team. Honestly,
and playing at the right time. No, I don't disagree. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has issues. You just go off of, like, who do you think can put it together the most?
And to me, that's all I've been saying this year. All I've been saying is it's not like how 3-4 years ago where we knew Georgia and Bama were the best 2 teams, because week in and week out they showed you on the field.
Well, like I say,
they're 2 of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, prime example of what we talked about. Like, this is good. Like, we don't need to talk about Florida State. They got beat by 50 against Notre Dame. We're done with that. Florida State and Miami are on a bye week this week, so we'll just continue on like this. This is fine if you're okay with that. Like the Gators, we'll talk about Florida LSU here in a second. But going back to like last week, you know, you're talking about, you know, teams like Jekyll and Hyde, like Bama, okay? If we sat there and watched that Bama-Georgia game and we're like, holy shit, this Milroe 100%. And this offense, like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, you know, you lose to Vandy. You know, you have a couple turnovers, this, that, and the other. Vandy plays the game of their life. You lose. Then you come back. You're playing Tennessee. You're in a ball game, whatever.
You skip South Carolina.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm going to the 2 losses. You know, so and what I think it is, and then you come all the way to this week. I think Milroe. I think there was something wrong. Milroe. Look at all those games in a paradigm.
No, I'm not.
Milroe. He's different. Like,
no,
so
he is.
So why did he not play like that against Vandy and South Carolina? Like, so it was either something, they weren't calling those type of runs. They weren't calling that design stuff.
Well, remember they were up 14-0 against Carolina.
Yeah, I know.
I think they were bigger. I think there were bigger issues than just Milroe. I think the defense was still trying to figure things out. And then I think they just couldn't run the ball like they wanted to as well. Because even with the Milroe at 70-75% with that zone read, they still should be able to run the football. But I think it's just
they didn't dial it up like that against Tennessee. And I say, they were struggling in the pass game.
Yeah,
you know, he had that terrible turnover in the red zone that, you know, where they looked like they were about to go up in that game, and then it just stayed tight. You know, but like looking at him last week against LSU, like you said, shot out of a cannon. Like, dude, this guy looked electric, man. It was like unreal. Yep. So it's like, what Bama team are you going to get? Is this 100% healthy Milroe? This is what it looks like.
I truly think that's every team in the country. I truly think that. I truly think that every team is pretty the top. I think the top 10, top 12 is pretty. It's pretty close. It is pretty close. That top 13, even if you have Georgia, for me, I have Georgia outside
Yeah,
of 12 right now.
I got Georgia out too. They're not in the playoff right now. They're not.
I think
They're not.
everyone. I think everyone's pretty close, and I think anyone could get got because like even Texas hadn't looked. Texas has had some games where you're kind of like,
No, for sure.
and like you said, they haven't played anyone.
I was about to say they don't have a good win, man. Like they don't have a good win. If
They
you go
really
look at their
don't.
schedule, Oklahoma's not a good win. Mississippi State's not a good win. Florida's not a good win. Vandy is not a good win.
And that's my argument of I could say BYU has a better win than Texas.
You probably could. Like I said, I can't argue that. I can't argue that.
They have I mean, like I say, I know SMU hasn't played anyone per se, but at the same time, they're ranked 14th in the country. And it was just a good win at the time for BYU.
Yeah, no, like I say, what it boils down to is, some teams, like again, Penn State's a prime example of getting the easy end of the Big Ten schedule this year. They don't play, a lot of those top tier teams, and then it's a weird year when Michigan's down. So now you got Indiana who's inclined, and now they're like,
taking
Indiana.
advantage.
So
they're
Penn State and Indiana, two teams are right now in the top 5. Basically have played easier schedules in the Big Ten, and their one game is going to be against the number 1 team or number 2 team, Ohio State.
I feel like going forward, they're going to be teams, and let's not act like we didn't talk about this in our preseason show where we talked about scheduling. How many times we mentioned the word schedule? We probably said schedule 150 times in that one podcast because we all said, well, not we all, but me and you said a lot of this is going to come down to how your schedule breaks by the end of the year. Did we not say that?
Yeah, no, because the prime example would be, like you say, Miami had a favorable schedule.
Yeah.
They're in good business.
Exactly.
We're at the beginning, we're like, we don't know how bad Florida State was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know who Florida would be. So like those are 2 games on your schedule. Like those are going to be bangers of a game. Well, guess what? They turned out to be easier than what you had. So and then it shapes up as the season goes on. You're like, okay, well, this team's not as good as we thought they were, or this team is way better than we thought they were. Like, wow, look out for this team. But so yeah, scheduling breaks. Again, that was
and you
said about Missouri. We said Missouri had the easy SEC schedule.
But you take advantage of it, and I think
100% take advantage.
And that's why I think Indiana. I'm just throwing it out there. Indiana shouldn't be punished for taking advantage of what their schedule is. No, they can't be. You can't punish them because Michigan is bad this year.
No, I get that, and I guess what it comes down to is like it's how do you quantify like their strength of schedule?
It's just hard when you have 130
I know.
something teams.
I totally agree. But we again, and this is where you got to come out with the numbers to where if you're like, here's the thing. I think Indiana's in now, unless they lose, unless they
get blown out, unless they get blown out by Ohio State.
Yeah, I think Indiana is going to lose to Ohio State next week. I don't know what
depends on what fashion they lose.
Yeah, I don't know what the score is going to be. So then, if they're technically, where are they at right now? They're at 7.
Like
Shit, no, they're at 7. I'm talking about the committee rankings. So that ain't good. They can easily slide them 5 spots down. Again, that's where you're going to have the 10-2. But I still think the way it's working is it's going to work itself out. Honestly, I do. I think it's going to work itself out.
No,
the interesting. It always does. But now we got more teams to like. Oh, it's going to go.
I just wanted I try to take it week for week. I know we said hypothetically down the road.
I know.
And
I try not. I love being a forecaster. Maybe I should have been a weatherman.
I like being in the moment. I like to say where we're at right now. You can do both, though. Both things can be true. We could talk about where we're at right now versus down the road. Yeah. And I like talking about the right now. And like I say, the right now, I think Georgia has issues on offense. Yeah. And I've been saying that.
Well, guess what? Right now, Georgia's out. So now you'd have Alabama, Indiana would be playing.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
That's what I'm saying. Me neither. I think Bama would beat them. Then you have, all right, here you go. Let's do the playoff breakdown right now. Ohio State, Boise State. You got Ohio State, right?
Yeah, more than likely. I just think they don't have enough outside of Genty, and Ohio State would just load the box.
All right, Notre Dame, Tennessee.
I think that would be a good game. It all depends on Nico. And those are two schizophrenic teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I say, Notre Dame, like that's another team that's kind of benefited from the schedule. Like, they have absolutely the worst one loss out of all
100%,
these teams.
100%.
So their best win obviously is week 1 against A&M. That's their best win.
Yeah, I think A&M definitely helped them by being what A&M is today on 11/13/2024.
Right.
Because if A&M would have just went to a nosedive after that game, we would have been saying, shit, Notre Dame, where's your best win?
Right. It'd have been Louisville.
I mean, I guess you could say Navy. Navy is a quality win. Just because it's an odd year, Navy was being decent. Yeah. I mean, you got to give them credit for it. I'm not saying Navy's world beaters, but if you're playing against a team on your schedule and they're ranked and they're doing decent, you got to give them at least a little kudos. I'm not giving them kudos of like beating, like you said, Ole Miss, a Tennessee, or hell, even a Clemson or a Pitt. But it's still a decent win.
All right, well, who you got, Tennessee or Notre Dame?
If the game was today and we didn't know the Nico situation,
that's what I'm saying. The game's Nico's healthy. He doesn't have a concussion. He might not play this Saturday. Now that's a whole other topic.
I think it would be a banger. I probably would lean to Tennessee, but like I say, Tennessee hadn't really shown. I wouldn't be surprised if Notre Dame won that game.
Right. All right. Ole Miss, Penn State.
I'd probably take Ole Miss all day, every day. You know how I feel about Penn State.
And Alabama, Indiana. You take Bama or Indiana?
I probably would take seeing that Jalen Milroe on Saturday, I probably would take Bama.
Well, like I say, I guess the other thing too is we would have a different perspective after we watch them play Ohio State. Like, if they beat Ohio State, we'd be like, whoa.
But I'm just saying, like before last week's game, would you have been surprised if I said Indiana?
No.
Before watching what Jalen Milroe did last week?
No, I still think that's what they're capable of. I still think the Bama defense is kind of, like you say, in transit. So, like I say, now your next round games will be Ohio State, Miami, Tennessee, Oregon, Ole Miss, BYU, Bama, Texas.
Some decent matchups.
Yeah. I'd probably who'd you take, Ole Miss or BYU?
That'd be a tough one. I probably would take Ole Miss.
You would take Oregon over Tennessee, right?
Yep.
The Canes versus Ohio State Buckeyes.
I probably would take Ohio State just because of the matchup problems on the outside.
And then Texas, Bama.
Probably Bama. I don't know what's going on. And
that's what I'm saying. If you're going to get that Milroe, like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's the scary part about this.
That's the thing. Yeah, you just and that's all my argument has been throughout this whole year. It's like, take it for what it is. Let's watch.
Well, like I say, so here's what's wild. So you would get your third go of it if it plays out. Oregon would play
Ohio State
in the Final Four, and then it would be Bama, Ole Miss, who hasn't played this year, and I don't know if they can meet up in the SEC game or not. But again, that'd be crazy. So you'd have two SECs versus each other, two Big Tens, and it'd be a SEC Big Ten champion, versus in the title game. So like I say, that's where we're at now. And like I say, a lot of things could change. And again, the one of the crazy stat caveats too, that when I was listening to one of the national, it was Heather Dinich. She's like, this is where like the SEC bias and whatever, forget about whatever. She was saying, don't eliminate the 3-loss teams because every year for the last 10 years, there's been a 3-loss team in the top 10 of the rankings.
I heard that BS. I'm not even entertaining it.
Why
I'm not entertaining it. Let's not even entertain it. If it get the last week of the season, if it gets down to it, we'll entertain it. Then I'm not entertaining a 3-loss team. Yeah. I'm just not doing it.
What if it's Ohio State?
If Ohio State was a 3-loss team,
yeah. So
you're saying if Ohio State loses 2 more games within the next month,
here you go.
We're going to entertain Ohio State.
Let's say they lose to Indiana Saturday.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question.
Saturday. Yeah.
So we're entertaining a 1-loss team currently with 4 weeks left with the conference championship game, and they lose 2 more games. We're entertaining that. I'm not. It's one thing if just say like Ole Miss has 2 losses and they lose in the SEC championship game, depending on how those games break. Just say if they lost on the last second field goal to Bama. You look at it different.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to happen because there's not enough ways to do it, because what I'm saying is that how that would have to happen is Indiana would have to beat Ohio State. That would give them their second loss. but then they somehow have to get to the Big Ten championship game, which I don't think they would be able to.
Their third loss probably would be Michigan.
Okay, yeah.
Because Indiana's probably not going to lose against.
That's what I'm saying. So it would be Indiana versus Oregon in the Big
Indiana
Ten.
ain't losing to Purdue. Their last.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So for that to work, that'd be the only way, because what I was thinking was, is there some way for them to get back to the Big Ten game and lose to Oregon twice, and then have basically 2 losses to Oregon and 2 losses to Indiana? But like I say, it's just
that's why I say I'm not entertaining the 3 loss, because what if this happens? Insert Colorado beats BYU, right? You don't think Colorado, how they play, their stylistic of play, they could match up with anyone in the country? How they're playing right now?
No, sure. Like I say, I don't think they've beaten anybody, but I think they're playing good ball.
I mean,
they're playing good ball, but I mean they've lived on razor thin edge by they got beat by Kansas State, who's kind of whatever, and then it took a Hail Mary to beat Baylor. Great job. I'm not hating on Colorado. They're doing good things.
No, but
stylistically, offensively, yeah, sure, they can put up points,
because that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to stylistically.
Let me see them score against Bama or LSU, or not even LSU, Texas, or even Ohio State.
I think they could score points. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to score 30, 40 points, but I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to get shut out.
I'd love to see Penn State, Colorado, like a defense, Penn State's D versus that offense. That'd be
like I say, it comes down to stylistically. Now, the Colorado defense,
I probably wouldn't pick. Here's the thing:
terrible.
If Colorado got in here, that's the crazy part. They'd get a freaking bye.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say we'll put them in where BYU spot. So basically, Colorado's first game would be against Ole Miss. I wouldn't pick them to beat Ole Miss.
I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'll take the over, but I wouldn't pick them to beat Ole Miss. So I could get again. They've set themselves up to be in this situation, which is great.
Yeah.
Like I said, the argument then becomes, does BYU deserve to be a second Big 12? Is where we'll be arguing about.
It all goes down to that. If they make it undefeated to the championship game, for me, it goes down to how they look in that championship game. Like, if you get blown out in your championship game, I'd probably say no. But if you lose, just say how Georgia lost last year to Bama, like, clearly Georgia would have been in the 12-team playoff last year because they lost by 1 point.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be mad if they put them in. I wouldn't be mad if they put BYU over a 3-loss SEC team.
No, I definitely wouldn't do a 3-loss team. But 2-loss teams, that's where we'll have the argument. And we'll have that argument. Like I say, we'll guess what? If there's literally the top 12 rankings come out and there's a 3-loss team in the top 12, they're obviously going to be in the playoffs. So we'll see who's ranked when.
I think that would be ridiculous. But
what's crazy is that's been the actual MO literally the last 10 years. Like, nobody pays attention to it.
I don't think anyone cared outside of the top 4.
Of course they didn't. But
it's no different than the coaches poll.
They still
it's
rank
no different than the
teams.
Coaches poll who slide their ballot slip to the SID, and the SID puts whoever puts in there.
They still rank those teams for the bowl matchups in the BC or whatever.
I don't think that would be a factor this year. I don't think that would be a factor. I think it would be different just because, like I say, in years past, outside of the top 4, once they get their 4, they could care less about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, in my opinion, because why do you, after year 4, previous to this year, after the 4, who gave a damn about 5 through 15?
Yeah, nobody. They were going to a New Year's 6, and if your team was there, you're like, all right, cool, But
yeah,
like I say, you have to go. I have to clip it out or find it. Josh Pate went on the SEC bias rant last night.
I saw it.
And I was like, this is perfect for Faro right here.
No, I saw it.
Oh, you saw it.
He had one. Cannell had one, and I mean, let's not act like I haven't been saying it for the last 3-4 weeks. I get that we want the best teams in, but don't tell me the best teams have multiple losses in a year. How are you the best team when you just have multiple losses?
I guess
it is one thing. So let's look at it. Like, who's Georgia's 2 losses? To Ole Miss, and I know I keep bringing up Georgia, but
Bama.
I think Georgia legitimately has probably the biggest argument about their losses versus anyone else.
Like 2 good losses, basically.
2 good. I hate saying good losses, but yes,
you have to say that. That's the part of it. Like,
no, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not joking. I'm joking. I'm slightly joking, but not joking about the Mizzou thing. They haven't played anybody.
No, they haven't. Like, again, so I guess what the caveat to that is sometimes it can be about obviously the losses and if they're good or whatever. But what I'm saying is tell me the good wins you have too. Because that when teams don't have good wins, like
I
then
know,
who
I
have you
agree.
so what you would
I'm not,
the counterbalance to the Georgia argument is they've beaten number 14 Clemson and they beat number 1 Texas at the time.
3.
You know, so
number 1 Texas, who we agreed hadn't played anyone.
I don't disagree, but that's where they're ranked. So that's a great win. Like maybe one of the best wins besides Oregon and Ohio State. You could argue that that's not the best win in the season.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And here's the thing:
so
Georgia can make this all right
outlier
by going to beat Tennessee this week.
Yeah,
so guess
Georgia
what?
is. I just think Georgia is kind of the outlier out of the 2-loss SEC teams.
Right. Well, like I say, they literally. This is what's great about the season. They get to play Tennessee this week, who's number 7. Now, the big question is if Nico's not playing, you know, I got Georgia beating if Nico's not playing. If Nico's playing, then it's going to be a ball game. But if they win that game, then that's going to move them to 8-2. They're beating UMass. They'll be 9-2. More than likely, they should beat Georgia Tech, so they'd be 10-2 and not have to go to Atlanta. And so, if then the argument comes down to basically a 10-2 Georgia versus a 11-1 BYU, I'm taking Georgia all day. There's no debate, because what I'd say is, tell me BYU's best win. It'd be against maybe an ACC champion or maybe a 2-loss SMU. You know, and then you can go back and say who is Georgia's best wins: Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, 3 top 10 teams or top 15 teams. So like Georgia would have to be in. And then they have 2 quality losses.
If they have 2 losses, if they have 2 losses, they'll be on that fringe.
Right. Like that's what I'm saying. So then now here's the crazy part, like we've been talking about. If you as the SEC hater is what I'll throw out there.
SEC hater.
not lover of the SEC is what I'll call it.
Man, you make one statement and then it turns into I hate Georgia. I hate the SEC. I hate Bama. I hate this team.
It's more so, where was it? I had the text. I got it right here. Let me pull it up. Because this is the scenario. Is if the question is, if you have all those 10-2 teams, like do you leave them all out? Who gets left out and all that stuff? That's where it's going to get fun.
Then if you have all those 10-2 teams, then it goes by what you were just saying. You look at who's your quality win, who are your bad losses, and you go through that, and then you filter them out. And then you better hope that Army that is not undefeated.
Nah, they wouldn't get in over them if they were undefeated.
If Army's undefeated, they'll beat a Notre Dame team, and they'll beat a top 25 in their championship game.
They still wouldn't get in. No way.
And they still would have 2 better wins than Texas A&M. If Texas A&M finished 10-2.
That's what's wild.
They still would have 2 better wins than Texas.
What's going to be funky is this, and this is where the crazy argument will be when it comes down to it, is the team that has to go play in Atlanta and gets that 3rd loss.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's where it's like,
you don't want to play in that game.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy because you can't even navigate to be like, oh, I don't want to win this game and drop it. You have to keep winning.
Let's not dismiss what I just said. If Army beats the number 7 team in the country, we're playing hypotheticals, right? We don't want to play hypothetical.
Okay, let's play it. They beat number 7.
They beat number 7. Is that not a good win?
That's a great win. I'll give them that.
Whoever they play in their championship game is going to be ranked in the top 25 between Tulane and probably Navy. Because those 2 play each other, and they're probably going to be in the top 25.
Yeah, Tulane's 25 right now.
So if they beat Notre Dame, they beat Navy, and then they beat Tulane, those are 3 quality wins. And if they're undefeated, how are they not in? And hell, they could be a 4 seed.
How can they be a 4 seed? They're not a power conference.
You didn't read the fine print, Bubby. Boise State could be a 4 seed. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
It goes by the conference. Just say if either one of those 2 teams, just say hypothetically, Boise State, Army, they went out and they win their conference. If they're ranked higher than any of the Power 4 champion, they could be the 4 seed. I don't think it's going to happen, but potentially it can happen.
No, yeah. Like, where's Army ranked right now? What are they in the CFP?
They're like top 15, top 20.
Let's see where CFP has them. 24 in the college football rankings.
But if they beat a number 17,
they're 16 in the AP poll. So, like I say, the college football committees are telling you, nah, no way. They're right ahead of Tulane.
No, I'm saying if they beat the number 7 team in the country,
yeah,
they're jumping up. If they beat Notre Dame, they're jumping up 5 to 10 spots.
Maybe. I could see
There's
it.
no maybe. They beat the number 7 team in the country.
I would see them moving up to like 15 from 24.
Right. And then they got to hope that Navy and Tulane stay in the top 25. That's what I'm saying. If they beat 3 ranked top 25 teams, they could slide in there.
Yeah, Navy's.
I don't think they're not going to do it. I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame, but I'm just saying if it's possible.
Yeah, Navy's.
If we're going to do scenarios, we got to do all the scenarios.
No, this is a fun one. This is a fun one. I still, yeah. No, like I said, that'd be a nice little fly in the ointment, to see what they would do with them with that, because then Notre Dame would be completely out.
Because
they could take Notre Dame. They could take Notre Dame's spot. So
yeah, because if you're talking about resumes, how is that not a good resume?
Yeah, what you would have to do is compare it to some of the other ones. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's still better win than Texas. Texas's best win probably will be Texas A&M.
No, that's definitely.
That's probably going to be their best win for the year.
100% because you go back and look at it.
Hell, they still got to beat them first.
No, for sure. Like I said, they got Arkansas and Kentucky, who they should handle with no problem, and they go on the road Thanksgiving weekend against A&M. Yeah, they beat at the time, which was not a good win anymore, Michigan, who was ranked where everybody.
Dude, speaking of lit games, that's the most expensive ticket of the year.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, even Oklahoma at the time was ranked when Texas Red River and Oklahoma's crap the bed. Vandy was 25th, but again, these are all, like I say, Texas. I guess the thing with Texas is they've kind of mashed everybody.
They took care. You can't fault them for taking care of their business.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like Penn State too. Like Penn State, like they played with their food against Bowling Green, but they've pretty much handled everybody by double-digit scores. That was a game where they had to come back and win.
Yeah, but that's why I say, like, you can make your out of conference schedule, but once you're in your in conference schedule that you have no control over, as long as you handle your business, I can't punish you for that.
I get that, but
punish you for that for handling your business.
I understand that, but you got to also say there is a degree of which teams you're playing. Like,
I'm not disagreeing with that to a point, Sponge.
I know. So which is more important though? I guess beating the tougher teams or just getting a lucky year and getting lucky to go undefeated.
Every team has a lucky year.
I know. So I'm saying, what's more valuable in your opinion?
It just depends on who you play. I'm talking about the other teams, like the teams looking in and they're looking at just say a 1-loss Indiana. We got to look at their resume as well, because if you're looking at just say Texas get a loss to Texas A&M,
right?
Would you put Texas over Indiana?
Yes.
Because why? Because they're Texas and they play the SEC. That's why you would put them in. There's no other argument.
Here's what. Let's go to common opponent. What did Texas do to Michigan, and what did Indiana do to Michigan?
Win is a win.
You have to somehow get the variable of how the win is, though. Like that goes to the old school look of stylistic points, So then it's like, okay, at the time, like, Vandy is better than a lot of Northwestern and Washington and Michigan State and all these teams, again. So like they played their best loss. Both of them have really good losses. One would be to Georgia and then one would be to Ohio State. But I would still put Texas in over Indiana.
I know you would.
2 losses.
There's no argument. I know you.
All right.
Would.
So who would you put in? You're going to put Indiana?
I wouldn't. If Indiana lost a close game to Ohio State, I'm putting Indiana in. Now, if they get their doors blown off, you could have an argument for Texas.
All right. So if they lose to Ohio State, 35-24.
Depending on how that game looked, I might put them in.
Yeah, I can't with 101st.
Of course you can't, Sponge. It doesn't matter what you say. You can't because you're going to pick the SEC team 9 times out of 10. Like
because
that's
then I'm going to go off strength. I'm going to go off strength program. I'm going to go off strength of schedule then, and like who played the better teams. Like you can't tell me even like if Texas had an easier SEC path versus Indiana had an easier Big Ten path, and they're like a 2-loss team versus the 1-loss team. Strength of schedule then comes into play. It say that like so who has Indiana really beaten versus who has Texas really beaten? Texas has a better resume. It's not.
I'm taking the 1-loss team. I'm taking the 1-loss team in who you guys try to force down everyone's throats at one of the 2 top conferences.
Well, guess what? Not going to happen. Hopefully that scenario happens so we can see what happens. But I no way, no how Indiana's getting in over Texas if it's a 2-loss versus a 1-loss scenario.
I expect you to say that every 9 times out of 10. You can sit here and keep talking about it. You're always going to take the SEC team. It doesn't matter.
Not necessarily, but in that one I will. Like I said, just again, I think the 2 best teams in the country right now are in the Big Ten. So like I'm an SEC homer for sure because they're the best. It just is what it is. Like either love it or hate it, or whatever. Like what Josh Pate said. I wish I could remember exactly what he said, but it was good. Because we know you're like your team's not in the SEC, so you don't reside here. So you're like Daniel Cannell. You're like the Florida State guy.
Nope. I could care less about my conference. Only SEC people scream SEC even when their team sucks. Oh, my bad. Sorry, I took a shot at you.
Hey, it is what like I say. The Gators have been. We're a misery program. We suck. Like there's no way around it. There's no way.
Yeah. So you have the prop up the conference.
There's no tunnel. Like I can't help it if there's like 5 teams ranked in the top 15. I mean, how am I? I'm just going by the numbers, right? I'm just going by what the numbers say.
No, you always prop up your conference. It just means more.
I mean, that's the slogan. But what I mean, the numbers are the numbers. Like, let's count them up in the top 25 right now. And like, I didn't do this. This is what they did. Texas. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 teams in the top 25, but they're not the best conference. All right, give me your week 12 matchups, buddy, so we can get on out of here. Who you like? We obviously like LSU. You like LSU to beat the Gators? They have any shot?
Blow their doors off.
Yeah, you think so?
You don't think so?
I don't think it's a blowout. What if DJ plays? That's the question. If DJ Lagway plays, the Gators have no shot.
Bad. If DJ would have played, y'all to beat Georgia too.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, you don't have to be mad anymore. You don't have to be. Whatever.
I'm not mad. Like, I'm not mad.
Well, all right. So I'm asking.
I'm not mad at all.
Okay, well, like you could just be whatever.
I just said LSU's going to win and beat Florida. My bad. I'll give you my breakdown. You guys have a third-string quarterback that can't throw the ball. You guys can't run. LSU's offensive line is probably going to stop the Florida defensive line. And who's going to guard Lacey and those guys? I think LSU's a better team. Even if Lagway plays, a guy with a hamstring that's explosive, what much, unless they give him some magic juice, what do you expect him to do with a bad hamstring?
Throw it 50 yards.
Still got to step into it with a bad hamstring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I say, if Lagway plays, I'll give us a shot in the dark. If Lagway doesn't play, no
shot
way.
At what
but
dark?
Again,
and what do you mean a shot in the dark?
Like,
elaborate.
If Lagway plays in the game, I think we have a chance to win the game. I don't know how severe the hamstring grade was. I don't know if but like, again, if Lagway plays, it gives the team a better shot. Why do you think Vegas set the line at 5.5? Like, they know something. But again, if you want to take money line LSU to blow them out, then do it. Like I say, you haven't picked the Gators all year. I mean, so what else is new? So like they're not.
Why would I pick a team that's going to lose every week?
But they've actually won.
Give me one reason of why I would pick the Gators this year.
I mean, you didn't pick them against UCF, Kentucky, or any of those teams. So, like, they won those games at least, I guess.
I did pick them against UCF.
You picked them against Samford. But no,
don't
I think
be mad at me because your team
I think
sucks and you refuse to rep them on your hat.
Like I say, I'm done because of the whole situation with the coaching staff.
I ain't trying to hear it.
Like I say, you don't have to hear whatever. Like, I can do whatever I want in my life.
You're a Florida
fan. It's a free country. I can do whatever.
Wear your Florida stuff.
No, I'm done. I'm done with the Gators until we get a new coach. So however long that takes, like, I'm not going to wear a Gator hat for the rest of the year. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. Like,
yeah, somehow if they do beat LSU, you'll have it on next week.
No, I'm not. Like, I'm done with them this season. Like, the whole Scott Strickland thing, the whole, like, let's keep this guy because he's done mediocrity is, like, not what I'm about. So, like, until we can make a decision on, like, changing what the standard is, then, like I say, Florida can just, I'll watch them lose every week, you know. But like I say, DJ Lagway is the only hope that you could have if he has anything. But as far as, like, running the ball, like, yeah, we can run the ball on LSU. Like, did you not watch Alabama run it all over them and Texas A&M run it all over them? So
now we're comparing Florida to Alabama and Texas A&M.
The one thing Florida has been able to, we ran it on Georgia. So, like, we've been able to run the football in the latter half of the season. So again, with a Yale quarterback, that's going to be a problem. But if Lagway's in there, you know, we got to just line up and run. Like I said, I don't think we're going to be able to stop LSU's, like, they can't run it. So can we stop the pass? Like I say, with that banged up secondary, that's the whole other thing. Like, we're playing, like, down to the third and fourth string dudes. Like, we're triage unit. Like, so next man up, no excuses. But yeah, I don't think we're going to beat LSU. I don't think we're going to beat Ole Miss. We'll beat Florida State just because they're so bad, you know, so that's going to suck that we're going to have to win that game and go 5-7 and not go to a bowl game just like last year. But we're going to keep the coach. Good job, Billy Napier. Got the 50th recruiting class. And who you got?
Not knowing what the news is, I'm gonna go with Georgia.
They're saying Nico's not going to play.
I've heard both. Today I saw Bear said he wasn't going to play. Then today they said he is going to play, but I'll just take Georgia to win. I don't know if they'll cover.
I was about to say it's a big line, so I don't know.
I don't even know who their backup is in Tennessee.
It's the kid who came in that one play against Bama. Who the hell was it?
I saw the play where it looks like his head hit the ground at the end of the game.
He got rocked right before the half.
Yeah,
and never came back. But
that before the half. But right now I'll take Georgia just because not knowing the Nico situation.
All right, you got any other matchups you want to talk about? Any other big games? Is Utah? Can Utah upset Colorado this week? Does Colorado need to be on upset alert?
I think they should be, but I don't think Utah has enough offense. Problem is with no Cam Rising to run that offense.
Did Utah get screwed last week?
I mean, it was a whatever call. I didn't think it was egregious, but I get it on that fourth down. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's one of those you can't grab the receiver down the field. He did. It wasn't. I don't think it was worth the flag, but at the same time, they threw it. I'm not mad at it. They only gave them 5-10 yards. You still got to stop them. They still drove the field 60 yards to get the field goal to win.
Yeah, BYU, like I say, the Utah AD was pretty hot.
Yeah, I think they said he got fined.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he got fined. That was fine worthy for sure.
I mean, the other big games I have is Clemson and Pitt. That's obviously that's for the ACC implications.
Who you got?
I think Clemson's going to win that game. I just think their defense is good enough to slow down that Pitt offense. I don't know if Pitt's defense is any good.
I think Pitt's kind of finally hit that, like, okay, now you hit that proverbial wall of, you got through those first 7. They were playing with fire. The offense has been good, but even though Clemson hasn't looked world beater-ish, you know, they kind of played around, lost the game a couple weeks ago to Louisville, but like Virginia Tech, it was kind of a up and down game, but they pulled it out. But yeah, I think they beat Pitt. I just don't think Pitt has enough. Like you said, I think defensively Clemson. I think Clemson slows that offense down.
Yeah, Mizzou and South Carolina, just because both teams have a lot riding on this week on this game. I mean, obviously Mizzou's just still trying to, for some reason, Eli Drinkwitz thinks they're still in the playoff race in the SEC race.
Not at 23. They're behind. They're behind South Carolina.
No, I agree, but that's what he said. But I mean, like I say, this game, just because both teams are playing for a lot. Mizzou's still trying to stay in the race. I don't think they're going to get in it. South Carolina is just to build off a good year, to finish off a really good year that they've had. So to move in that direction and to build off of it, maybe to get guys for next season, to keep a lot of guys for next season. And I think, are they bowl eligible?
Oh yeah, they're 6 wins.
Yeah. So
and they play like the Citadel next week. So that'd
be So
you're potentially looking at a 9-3. They'll be 8-3. They'll be 8-3 going into the Clemson game.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
and then against your rival to win 9 games. That's a great year for South Carolina. So that's why I say this game's pretty big. I think Carolina's going to beat them. Only thing you just don't know what Sellers, which Sellers is going to show up. Outside of that, they have the talent. Their defense is going to show up. I think it's going to be a pretty good game. And then after that, Texas, Arkansas. Just because we know Arkansas could put up yards, can they put up enough points? Is two totally different things. They've been one of those pesky teams in the conference for the most part all year. And how does Texas slow them down? Because we know Arkansas could put up 500, 600, 700 yards. Can they score enough points to win the game?
Yeah, can they make it interesting?
Yeah.
I don't. Obviously, the game being in Fayetteville, I don't think that means much. It's a noon kick.
What do you think about that? Next week, what's up with the Big Ten in Fox? Ohio State, Indiana is a noon game next week.
Yeah, they've been talking about all this. You've had Pate talking about it. You've had Collette talk about it because he's on Big Noon.
Shit's terrible.
The combination of what's happened with the TV rights and stuff with, the whole Big Noon, they did that with taking that noon window by putting their big game at noon. That's just what they've been doing because they're like, okay, we're trying to get this big game on early and get it going.
Right.
But
I think
the thing where ESPN is now won is the fact that they got a game at noon as well. They got a game at 3:30, and then they got a game at 4, and then they got a game at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and so they
got every window.
So where the Big Ten is like literally all over the place. You got your big noon kickoff, which can sometimes be a Big 12 game because you also have this week you got Utah, game. Colorado. Well, you got Utah, Colorado is the big noon game. So the next week you say Indiana, Ohio State, but then the 3:30 is the CBS window, which is the alleged number 1 game.
Yeah, I think they just
then on top of that, then your night game is with Peacock.
I think they've been killing their product this year, especially when you have, just say, the Ohio State Penn State game. I didn't realize because when I was in Finland, it showed the time, and I didn't.
Was not a whiteout game.
No, I didn't calculate the time back 6 hours, and I thought it was a night game when I looked at it. And I'm like, you're just killing
12 o'clock noon, buddy.
Like even if you're going against,
but that's been the
I know that's their thing, but I just think that you're killing your ratings.
Well, the part of it is what normally is their whiteout game would be that type of game.
Yeah,
that would be
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I play this game at night against Ohio State.
Yeah, you're killing your ratings because if they put that game at night, they're going to get good ratings. The noon window, I'm not saying the noon window is going to give you terrible ratings, but it's not like how it used to be.
Well, like I say, the part of the issue too is the fact that they got West Coast teams in there now, so Oregon can't play a noon game. I mean, they can, but like 9 times out of 10, they're not going to schedule.
Well, not on the West Coast. Yeah, if they come across country.
Right. So, then you have your major games are already set, like your Ohio State, Michigan. That's already set in there. So it's like, where are these other, like at least they had the primetime matchup with Oregon, Ohio State. But again, it was on like Peacock, man. It just was weird, dude. So Like that is they like even Josh Pate said last week for the Penn State whiteout game versus Washington, they did a horrible job of like the presentation of it. And I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it down in that game. So again, that tells you how much I even cared. Like I didn't even,
they're killing the Big Ten. If I'm the Big Ten, I'm pissed. Like our marquee games all have to be at noon, basically what you're saying. And then if it's not at noon, it's at night on an alternative channel that a lot of people don't have, where we're used to having it on Fox or CBS, and now you're just killing our conference. That's how, if I'm the Big Ten commissioner, that's how I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm sure Kevin Warren did all of that before he left, but I would be pissed. But outside of that, the last game I have is Tulane Navy. One reason I have Tulane Navy on my list is because it's setting up for a good Army Navy game, and their conference championship. So the winner of this game is back in the driver's seat of that second spot at the moment to play Army in the championship game.
Yeah, I like Tulane right now. I like Tulane.
Tulane's good. Tulane has a lot of talent. They're just one of those underrated teams in a smaller conference that a lot of people don't watch. A lot of people don't know. They should have beat Kansas State. They had back-to-back. Who did they play? They had back-to-back weeks where they had Kansas State and somebody else. And off the top of my mind, let me go to it. It was. But yeah, I think that's going to be a decent game to start. They lost to Kansas State and Oklahoma back-to-back weeks, where I think they lost to Kansas State and they lost to one. Yeah, they lost to K-State at the end of the game in a heartbreaking loss, and then I think it just carried over to the next week where they just got blown out by Oklahoma for the most part, 34-19.
Yeah, because I think they blazed everybody up since then. The only tough game they had, which another team I think is underrated, is North Texas. I think North Texas is actually a pretty good team too. That was the closest game they've had.
They beat North Texas 45-37.
Yeah, and like I say, that was a tough game, but everybody else they beaten by a lot, a blowout, 71-20, 24-10, 34-3, 52-6.
Mario Williams and Malachi Hughes.
I just think Tulane, like I say, Navy, I don't know if it's the magic has run out, but I think I like Tulane athlete-wise in that game. The last game I got, the last game I got, does Kansas have a shot to beat BYU as the last game of the night?
Saturday night? I did have that on my other notes, the notes I didn't forward. Yeah, I think with Daniels at quarterback, they have a great opportunity. They got plenty of weapons. They've been kind of disappointing this year on how they've played for the most part. And like you say, BYU's been kind of like how the Hurricanes have been the last 4 or 5 weeks. Just you're living on the edge, and can it finally catch up with them?
Kansas they got snake bit early in the year and lost some close games. They lost a lot of games, but one possession games. They lost 23-17.
I think he was just getting Daniels back, where he was out last year.
Well, they played their last 3 games have been pretty good. They beat obviously Houston like a drum. They lost the game at K-State by 2, and then they worked Iowa State last week. So I think they're getting right at the right time where this could be, BYU coming off of that big win that they almost lost. What BYU team? You better put it this way: BYU better not sleepwalk through this game where they could lose to a 3-6 team, and then you're like, "Well, BYU, what are you doing, buddy?"
I mean, and then off the top of my head, that's something I haven't really looked at is who are those teams the last couple of weeks that have picked it up and turned it around. Just say like how Arizona was last year. Arizona had those first 2 losses, and then they hit that switch. And if there was a 12-team playoff last year, Arizona,
Colorado right now. That's Colorado right now.
Yeah, it's Colorado right now. Yeah, if you could get in, you just want to get in.
Colorado plays Kansas next week.
Yeah, so the Big 12 is going to get. Yep, the Big 12 is going to get their last 3, because I mean Kansas has what, BYU, Colorado, and Baylor left, and who's
Colorado?
Did you see BYU's last game?
Yeah, they got Colorado has Utah, Kansas, Oak State is their last 3.
I'm pulling up BYU right now. BYU. Kansas, Arizona State, and Houston. And that Arizona State game's not going to be an easy game.
No, Arizona State has been one of those teams that's kind of been like
pesky.
Definitely. Like they,
Yeah. So all the talk I've had about the Big 12, and we've been talking about the Big 12, by the time the Big 12 championship game rolls around, some teams may be two-loss teams in the
that's
Big
what I'm
12.
Saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're cannibalizing each other here late in the year. And again, that goes back to the argument of they're only going to get one team in, the winner, the conference champion winner, if you got two losses.
I mean, it potentially could happen.
I think I want to see Colorado get in, or I want to see Colorado get in the Big 12 game. And then, like I say, it's all there.
When they're it's on them. If Colorado wins out, they're in.
They literally control their own destiny. They control it. They win their next three. They're going to the Big 12 championship. They got a shot to play to get in the college football playoff. So,
did you see his comments on recruiting, Dion?
No.
Basically, he said why he doesn't have. I took from it he doesn't have time for recruiting because if you get 20 guys in, only legitimately 10 guys are either going to play or stay. So why not let those guys go and come back? And I'm just sitting there like, it's easy for Deion Sanders to say that because majority of these kids around the country would love to play for Deion Sanders. So if they go to another school and then leave to go to Colorado, because he doesn't have time to develop kids, is what he said. He needs guys that can come in and play right away or contribute right away, regardless if you're a walk-on, transfer, or a recruit. Like, Billy Napier couldn't say that. I'm not take everything out of what Florida is. Even if Florida was just say 8-2 this year, Billy Napier could not sack a recruiting class and continue to win. Mario couldn't do it. Kirby couldn't do it. And it's like he kind of
that's what so what it sounds like Colorado's MO is going to be we're going to portal every year.
Yeah,
and, a lot of teams are going to do that. And here's the thing, going back to the whole Gator argument. This is what's annoying. You have if you're keeping Billy Napier, which is already said is going to happen. So your recruiting class is 50th. So maybe you bump it up to like 30.
They'll probably get 20 20s. I think they'll get mid-20s.
So there you go. So you're top 25. You're not in the top 5, top 10, whatever. So it's a decent class, whatever. Regardless, then you're going to have to re-recruit whoever is thinking about portaling that you really want, or there's got to be defections. Guys are going to leave. But if at least you say, okay, the core guys are going to be there, Lagway is going to be there, then guess what? You better go spend $15 million in the portal this year.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the thing,
you have got to be the right guys.
No, for sure. But it's shown that kind of like you can do that, like with Ole Miss, but Ole Miss was already a top fringe.
And I think I still think they had core guys.
No, that's what I'm saying. So Ole Miss was a top 10 team. They were like, we'll just put them at 10. Like the Gators are not a top 10 team. They're probably like in the 20s, 25. They're probably 25, 30 range, if they're healthy and whatever. But again, what you got to do is you got to go get that right portal class, and you got to overspend, and then you have to have instant wins. Like you have to literally win 10 games next year if you do that.
Well, it's easy to say when you have a Shador and Travis Hunter already sitting there.
Right. So what you're hoping is, okay, DJ Lagway is this guy. He's the guy. So you keep those young receivers intact. Trey Wilson, bye-bye, whatever, But the problem is you're losing like a DK and a Badger. So you got to go find those two replacements to go with your young core of like, Mizell and Andy Jean and some of these other guys. Andy Jean might be out of there too. But again, the way it's working now is if you go spend $15 million on a portal class and it's top notch with your core players, you better win 10 games next year. Yeah. And like it has to be that. And so now, and that's for all teams. Florida State. You fire your coaches, you fire the staff, you better go find your quarterback in the portal. You better do whatever you got to do. And you spend all that money to forget the buyout that you're going to pay your fired coach. You go spend as much money as you can to get a new roster, and you better turn it to 8, 9, 10 wins. Like, because this whole song and dance of Let's wait and have the process. That shit is gone because
it's
the
done.
prime example is Indiana. Signetti. He
18
leaves
guys.
Indiana. Like, where was Indiana ranked at the end of last year? I don't know what kind of core they had from that team last year, but he comes in.
He brought in
takes
18
all
of
his
guys, though.
Takes all his James Madison guys, not
and coaches.
USC and Kansas and Kentucky's and Ole Misses and Florida's and Florida State players. No, he took James Madison, the whole team.
Yeah,
put them in the Big Ten now, and they're undefeated.
But I think
same thing goes back in the day with Urban.
Yeah.
Urban came in year 2. We won the national title. So like, I don't want to hear this. Oh, you got to build it, and it takes a while, and the process.
Yeah.
Like, forget that. It's completely changed in college football.
Mm-hmm. It's easier now. It's easier.
It should be easy to. It should be easy to flip the roster if you can keep like you got to still recruit. And I don't know what Deion's talking about. You got to be able to develop, and you got to be able to keep those core guys. So you have a core, and then you go bring in 10
I just think
guys
when I listen to the clip, you might have to just listen to the clip when you have a chance. I just feel like it's easy when you're Deion Sanders to say something like that.
He could totally say something like
that because
again,
we know he's going to get he's going to get a top 10 portal class every year as long as he's at Colorado, because he's Deion Sanders. How many kids are enamored and want to play for Deion Sanders? But when you look at a Mario, like I say, you look at any other coach across America, you're like, we still got to hit on these high school kids. You have to.
It goes to show you that, like, again, we're about to learn this new process now that, like, NIL's become a major player in the game, and it's only like in year 3 or 4. I don't even like. What are we in, like year 2 or
3? It's the 20
year
for
3?
Some states. It was 2020, 2021. So like 3 or 4.
That's what I'm saying. So again, look at the base teams that we always talk about: the Georgias, Ohio States, the Bamas. Those teams, even Clemson, like they recruit. So what Dabo's done is completely opposite of all this whole argument. Is he's just saying you still got to go steal a free agent from somewhere. Go take Florida State's best receiver.
I still think it's crazy he refuses to.
No, he's got to change that. He's got to, because
I mean the only way it helps him is if a lot of these kids that are coming out of high school that are top kids are like, I know I could go to Clemson and play right away.
Right.
Or like I say, I like the culture.
Clemson, it's stinky up there. So like, don't let them lose the Pitt this week. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
They lose to South Carolina again.
Boy.
Like I say, that's
He's on the hot seat.
Year. People are, and again, they're tired of the strategy of this whole not taking portal kids. So like, you're not even going to even get
a
wide receiver from Michigan State. Or
dude, he has. I shouldn't say hot seat, but he has to beat Carolina. Like you say, you can't lose to your rival.
It's never going to be. It's just never going to be. It's never going to be the same. It feels like.
No.
It feels like what's crazy, that domination they had with Deshaun and Trevor and all those guys.
They had 8 years in a row or something crazy. Almost 10 years.
Like again, that buys you a lot of time. But again, people expect that all the time, and so when you don't live up to any of that, you become James Franklin and Mark Richt. So, like I say, 10-2 ain't getting you there. So that's the part where you're hoping that Clemson in the modern world, a 10-2 would be good enough to get you in the playoff. But it just hasn't looked. It hasn't looked
10-2 in a conference where everyone is poo-pooing on top of that.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
10-2 in the SEC. I mean, as much as I've been killing it, 10-2 in the SEC and 10-2 in the ACC looks totally different.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, especially when you lose to one of the teams that you're arguing about in a game, Georgia or South Carolina in a year.
No, you can't lose to South Carolina.
No, I know.
They got to pull out all the stops for that one.
It's just never. I don't know if it's ever going to be the same at Clemson again, and that's what. That's I don't know.
Unless he gets some 5-star quarterback, Trevor Lawrence type guy.
That's the whole other part of this whole argument. Like, going back to the Colorado deal,
dropping the bag.
I don't care. I don't care what Colorado does. They are going to take a major drop off with no Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. It just is what it is.
Well, they flipped I guess they flipped some kid from SC. But it doesn't matter if you're expecting a freshman to come in and run
Julian Lewis he's a good player. He's really good. But again, now you're now here's the thing. That's good. That's good that they're doing that. But they're going to take a hit. But again, that's hell, if you can do that where you're taking 5-star quarterback, because I think it's Julian Lewis is who.
Yeah, it is. It is. I couldn't think of his name, but it is Julian Lewis.
Yeah, he's out of Georgia. He's a really good player. So yeah, like that's the thing. If you can recruit that guy, you're gonna have to obviously develop him.
You still got to hope he is what as advertised.
Well, yeah, that's the whole other thing too. Like a lot of these.
So does he stick with him, or does he go out and get a transfer quarterback to come in?
No, you gotta go get a portal guy too. You have to. You got to get a veteran. You got to get a veteran in there to go with the freshman, and then let him.
No, what I'm saying, like what type of veteran are we talking about? Just say Isaac Wilson. I'm just throwing a name out there.
Or somebody like that, or Tulane's backup quarterback,
or you're looking at an Air Nolan out of Ohio State, or Julian Salen, and or some guys like that potentially coming out of.
That's a perfect example. Yeah, if Julian Salen's the guy and Air Nolan thinks he's going to get squeezed, why would he sit there? Why would he sit? Like, screw it, I'll go play Colorado. Which, like I say, that's the type of player you got to go get, even though he's unproven still.
But at least he has a year. He has a year in college. He has a year under the belt.
I'm talking about going to get like Tulane starting quarterback. I don't know what year he is, but that's what I'm talking about. Like, can you go?
I think he's sophomore, junior.
Well, I'm just throwing him out his name.
I know.
But or you go take Jackson Arnold. I don't know. It's like they're going to go with the other guy. So will Jackson Arnold leave or Oklahoma to go play at Colorado, or the other kid Hawkins?
But that's the thing. I think a lot of these, it'd be easy for a lot of these kids to leave and go play at Colorado because once again, it's prime.
I agree.
It's prime, and you're building your brand. But the only reason I brought it up is because it's easy for him to say it versus another coach to sit there and say, "We ain't recruiting no." Because look where it got Mike. Look where Mike couldn't say it out loud, but we all saw that Mike was definitely hitting the portal harder than the high school trail.
No, for sure.
He needs to flip it. So you fired your staff. I'm curious to see who they bring in. I think they got to bring in recruiters. They got to bring in guys that can recruit.
Have you seen is Dan Mullen as like, why would Dan go be the OC at Florida State?
That makes zero sense. Like,
Dan Mullen is, if he wants to get out of broadcasting, which he seems to like now,
he'd be a head coach.
Why would he go take an OC job? Like, were you trying to build your resume back up?
Who said that?
There's literally pictures of Dan Mullen like on like the hot board of like.
If I'm Dan Mullen, I'd rather go to a Tulane type or one of those before I became the OC at Florida State.
He probably thinks he's better than that. He probably thinks. Put this
way.
Here's one for you. Like Hugh Freeze. What if Hugh Freeze got fired? Dan Mullen wouldn't want to take the Auburn job. I think he would take the Auburn job
in a heartbeat. Yeah, so hell yeah.
Yeah. So why am I going to sit around and go be like, I'm going to be the OC at Florida State?
But then you got to factor in is because we know Mike calls the plays majority of the time. Is Mike going to give up the play calling? Is Mike going to be willing to give up the offense that he likes to run and Dan wants to run something else?
Yeah,
there's too many egos in one room, in my opinion.
Well, like I said,
the reason why Bobby Petrino's in Arkansas because Bobby Petrino doesn't have a choice.
Thanks, Alexa. Thank you. That's part of the the issue.
Do?
She just started talking about something. I don't know. I couldn't. My headphones blocked her out. No, that's the thing with like Billy. Like that needs to be part of the clause of like you're hiring an OC next year, bud.
Amongst other things, but special teams coach and OC.
Yeah, like I say, it's a mess for a lot of teams.
Yeah,
right now.
If they're like, okay, Scott Strickland sends the notice out saying we're keeping Billy, and there are no change as a Gator fan. And if I was a Gator fan, I'm not happy they're keeping Billy. 1, 2, if there are no changes made on the staff, I would be irate. I would be irate if I'm a Bull Gator. And I'm like, I'm not giving you any more money unless some changes, significant changes have to be made this offseason. And I think that was just a statement that he put out. But if you guys get blown out the next 3 games or the next 2 and lose to Florida State, I still think Billy's gone. I think he's gone.
Yeah, like I say, in my mind, you got to retract your statement here and say, we changed our mind. Like these guys aren't playing for him actually, blah, blah, blah. You got to put egg on your face, whatever, poo on your face. I don't care.
Amongst other things at that university going on right now.
No, that's what I'm saying. We got a crank yanker
They
basketball coach, but
well,
you know,
yeah. I just think as a university as a whole, a decision needs to hurry up and be made as to get a president in, and then the president needs to
like I
be
say,
able to make the decisions.
that's the whole
Yeah,
other
no,
dumb
I
caveat
know,
part about it.
I
It's
know.
like whatever. Like I say, this is the other bad part about it now is the guy I want looks like he's going to be in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter anyways. So
Tulane.
yeah,
Well, no, I get that. No, but as
I mean,
a
I guess we'll
university,
stick it out and then get Lane next year,
no,
maybe.
but Sponge, as a university as a whole, when you're talking about all athletics, there needs to be a president installed right away, and then
Yeah,
there needs to be an AD, a new AD, and then go from there.
yeah,
Because I know we're just talking football, but there are other issues going on in that campus,
yeah,
and gymnastics and baseball can't keep it held down the rest of the time.
exactly. Like I say, you know,
And like you say, if you keep talking about the standard in Gainesville, the standard is not being set across the board,
the
in
standard
my
now,
opinion.
it is the standard. Mediocrity is the standard now. It's
I'm
changed.
talking about across
Yeah,
all sports because
yeah,
for how many years we heard the Gators are in what is it, the President's Cup,
yeah. They're top
the
10,
president,
basically top 10 all
all
sports.
sports.
You know, every
When's
year.
the last time you heard the Gators were
I
in the
don't even.
President's Cup?
I haven't even looked at that whole thing. You know, in a
Yeah,
long time. I don't even know. I don't even know if they're still consistently in that or not. Because I know, obviously, we don't talk about track and field and swimming and diving and all those other
yeah. We
sports.
talk about football, but at the same time,
Like
as a fan,
they're good at all that stuff. So they're probably still in the top 10 of all that. They just suck at football. They've been bad in basketball and have gotten better. Women's basketball is a joke. Baseball's been really good, but those are your main core sports. And like I
yep.
say, the bottom line is when your football team is mediocre or sorry, who cares about everything else, you know? So like I say, it's just that they run the sports for everybody else. The
No,
money,
they do, but on a grand scale of everything, everything should be factored in because those other sports sucking should help
yeah.
football say we need a new AD, or
No,
as a booster, we need a
the
new
athletic
AD to get
director
this all
Scott
lined up.
Strickland. I've never been a fan of Scott Strickland when we first got him when he came in from Mississippi State. It was like, dude, give us a guy who's gonna hire the right coaches. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
starts with the
again.
president though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you got an interim president, when you thought you had a
Yeah,
president, and then you don't, then he goes back to this guy. He's not going to fire anybody. So
no,
they need to bring in a new. They need to go ahead. I don't even know if there's even a chain of command of when they're even trying to bring in a new president, or if they're even have candidates to who's going to be the new
yeah. I mean, I'm
U.S.
sure that's
president.
all kind of hush hush for right now, and you would think going into the holidays, they're definitely not talking about that or going to hire
Yeah,
anyone until probably
no,
January, February,
no. Like I say
unless
again,
they have a candidate right now and they just haven't announced it.
yeah. Like I say, it is what it is. Because
Yep.
again, the guy I want, or even the second guy I want, it looks like both of those teams are going to be in the playoff. So
Second guy is the second guy I'm thinking of.
I mean, I guess I would take Signetti second. I don't know. I mean, who else am I going to go get? I'm not taking Lincoln Riley. I mean, Lincoln Riley probably begged to take the job right now. Like,
Yeah, everything we know about Lincoln, I couldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole unless you say, "Hey, you want to come here as an offensive coordinator?" And
yeah,
that's it.
it's wild.
That's it.
I mean,
I would
he's not going to get fired this year, but
no.
he's on the hot seat for next
Yeah,
year.
I mean, just look at what they've been doing. Like you play at SC. Like, granted, you're in the Big Ten now, but their Big Ten schedule hasn't been the toughest Big Ten
No,
schedule,
not at all.
and to be have only 5 wins.
Yeah, no, they've shit the bed for sure.
Yeah, after that big win against LSU, you thought like, oh, all right, this team we're looking out for the rest of the year, but clearly not.
Clearly not.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm sure
All
you
right,
got to go.
all right, peoples. We'll holler at you. Like I say, we're gonna hopefully some more chaos ensues, and we'll
Yep.
be
And I was
throwing
not
out.
angry today, people.
We'll
Before
throw out
anyone
more.
texts me and say you look mad and all, I was
We'll
not
throw out,
angry.
we'll
I
throw
was
out more
trying.
hypotheticals.
I was
Mara was done
trying not.
talking about.
I
He
was
was
trying
done.
my
He was
best not.
done.
I was trying my best not to get angry and lose my shit.
We didn't want to lose his cool.
No.
Like I say, we'll talk about more hypotheticals next week. Join us on the hypothetical episode next
We're gonna
week. All
change the
right,
podcast name to Talking Ball to
hypotheticals.
Talking Hypotheticals.
Talking hypotheticals next week. Please join us next week for the hypothetical breakdowns of who's going to be in or out of the college
Hey,
football playoffs.
I think honestly, actually, I think today was a good episode. We kind of went off our normal
No,
script.
well, I mean, part of it is the fact that Miami and Florida State aren't playing. The Gators got absolutely boat raced against, Texas last week. We talked about the Canes, dropping their first loss. We don't even need to talk about Florida State anymore. Like a 50-point loss to Notre Dame. They're off this week. They might get their second win against Charleston Southern next week. We'll break that down next week in true fashion. I need all the breakdown of Charleston Southern next week. That's your homework. And
that's my homework.
That's your homework. And then, Florida LSU. Yeah. So it's kind of like this is just a good college football, like national landscape, what's going on. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening this long. It was
James,
fun.
I know you made it to the end. We appreciate you.
Hour 45, baby.
We'll see. I'll get that text. I'll get that text or Facebook later.
Yeah, DF's been listening to it out there in San Diego. So he had notes for me last week after the first half of the Georgia game, but I think they all got canned because DJ Lagway got hurt. So
what were the notes? I'm curious.
I don't even know. I have to go pull up. I have to pull him up. He's texting me or whatever, but I'll pull him up and we'll share that next week.
Yeah, but I'm curious. I don't even
know.
David's a fan, but David's not like a high.
Yeah,
someone that's going to sit there and watch all the games. I'm just curious what his notes were.
Yeah, I have to pull it up.
Aren't you glad you didn't make that trip to Texas?
Yeah,
I was excited. I thought I wanted to go.
I knew week one after the Miami game, I was like, I will not be making that trip to Austin because this is the product that we're gonna have on the field.
Yeah, we could have been at Terry Black's.
Then it even showed me 2 weeks later when we played A&M. So that definitely was the nail in the coffin. It was like, forget about it. So
yeah.
All right. Enjoy your college football. Enjoy your sports, and we'll holler at you next week.
Like, subscribe, share.
Peace. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, hit the bell.